Hello, everyone. Welcome to the TIMEOUT Podcast. I'm your host, Ari Bruckman. Joining us this week, our special guest is an expert when it comes to engagement rings, working with gemstones, and her experience at Tiffany Co. and Harry & Winston has allowed her to help many people with their dream jewelry. Please welcome our special guest this week, ladies and gentlemen, Michelle Demaree. Michelle, how are we doing?
Doing fantastic, Ari. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you. Before you started your own thing, talk about these opportunities and how did you first get started in the industry?
So before I started my business as a diamond concierge, the entire falling into the diamond industry was totally accidental. I had always worked in luxury sales. So I went to school at Pepperdine, graduated, undergrad with marketing and PR, which is a very transferable skill, right? So I ended up just selling out of college. I just wanted to make money, right? Like everyone. So I ended up working for a big home builder selling high-end real estate during the boom, sold millions in real estate, and then ended up in Chicago, followed a relationship there, and was working at Bentley, Lamborghini, Bugatti at a Bentley Gold Coast dealership downtown Chicago. And quickly realized when I was working there that I was like, I don't think this is going to be for me, but it was a good experience. And the way I landed in the world of jewelry, working for Van Cleef & Arpels, Harry Winston, and Tiffany & Company, is I was at an event, a huge event at the Peninsula Hotel. And it was a crazy weekend kind of package that for $350,000, you got the biggest suite at the Peninsula Hotel for Valentine's Day weekend. You got a Bentley, and you got a beautiful sparkling diamond watch by Van Cleef & Arpels, which, by the way, is not a law firm. It is a Parisian high jewelry house, right? For those of you who don't know, and I didn't even know at the time who Van Cleef & Arpels was. So I ended up meeting the director of Van Cleef & Arpels. She was looking for someone to a new salesperson, and I had a strong background. So that was the beginning, right? Kind of my fate of landing into the jewelry world, having no experience doing that. That was about 15 years ago. I think just being open to the opportunity, not being afraid to share my strengths in sales and what I did, and just kind of going for it. And so I quickly became a top salesperson at Van Cleef, was able to train in Paris and, learn the inner workings of high jewelry, this world of high jewelry, which I didn't come from that world at all. Like my parents were both very simple, modest, from the Midwest, blue collar. I grew up in San Diego. And so it was kind of this wow experience for me selling rings that were $300,000, up to $1 million. But I quickly learned, right? Even though I didn't have a background, I learned just through kind of handling all these stones and learning about them. And I was a little homesick. I was in Chicago for a relationship that didn't work out at the time. And so I came back to LA. I worked for Tiffany's on Rodeo Drive, and then I worked for Harry Winston on Rodeo Drive. So I really had that whole checking the boxes of working for the most esteemed, prestigious jewelry houses in the world, selling literally hundreds of millions in luxury at that point in my life. And I guess this was 7 years ago. Yeah, 7 years ago. So I was at Harry Winston and I was ready to start a family. And so I left and I was like, okay, I'm just going to be a stay-at-home mom, leave the retail world. And then a year later, I kind of felt this calling to start my own business.
There's a lot there when you talk about that timeline that you were able to kind of learn about yourself. But I want to know what prompted you to kind of take the initiative to start your own business at that point. And what did you learn before that working in sales? I think everybody's a salesman now, right? And I mean, I think you have to be. I think you have to learn how to sell yourself because people nowadays, we all have platforms social media has given us to create that name for ourselves, to kind of give ourselves that personal brand. But but it's kind of like, why listen to you, right? So how did those skills and acquiring those skills early on help you when you ultimately decided to take that next step?
That's a great question, Ari. So I had trained a lot with all these different companies. And so I had a very strong foundation of just how to sell, features and benefits, kind of all those basics. But what actually was the game changer for me was learning that sales wasn't about selling a thing. It's really about connecting with people and selling to the emotional outcome that they want to experience when you're selling a thing, because you're really not selling a thing, right? Like people who are buying a $300,000 sapphire, they're really after the way that sapphire makes them feel when they look at it, when they're able to purchase something at that level, the feeling of, making a wise investment. So, really that has been the game changer in understanding sales. And I think we all come out of college wanting to make money. We just want to make money so we can feel happy, so we can feel secure, which, by the way, you asked what inspired it. It was so Charlotte, my daughter, was a year old, and I felt this calling to create something different, to create an experience that didn't exist yet. It was kind of like, well, I know how to offer a Harry Winston experience. I know how to work at all these places, but what if there was something a little bit better, a little bit higher level with more custom selection, something where I could connect with a client more? And what if I could connect with clients around the world, right? So it was just this idea. It all started with like an idea, and it was at this weekend retreat for women with Lori Harder at the Bliss Project in Orange County. And it was just a little seed was planted, like to follow your bliss and to follow your soul's calling. And so that was a little over 6 years ago. And I knew not a thing about how to run a business. All I had was a background in luxury sales. I really didn't even have any contacts in the diamond industry, like the wholesale industry. I was really starting from step one. But what I've learned in this business, whether it's been through building my network and my relationship with diamond wholesalers, which, by the way, is a very male dominated industry that has like closed doors. And I don't fit the stereotype of like being in that industry. I wasn't born generationally into that world. So I've had to really overcome some social barriers, just general barriers. And I've done that through connection. And what I found is when you can connect with people, not on a business level, but on a personal level, you actually care about them, you ask about their kids, like you figure out how to help them instead of take first. We're naturally on the take. We're naturally trying to achieve our agenda all the time. But instead, if you kind of pivot and you're like, well, how can I help them achieve what they want? And if you focus there and start there, you will always get what you're after. You'll always be compensated. I was kind of building this network of incredible diamond wholesalers and then building my customer base, right? Like, yes, I had worked at these places, but I didn't know if any of my clients were going to follow me. Luckily, some did. And then it was just kind of building through creating a high level experience. And when you talk about branding, what I've realized is that you don't want to try and be like the big guys out there. I could not be like Harry Winston. I have to be me. Like you have to be 100% you, knowing that you are not going to appeal to everyone. And that's actually a good thing. If you try to appeal to everyone, you will dilute who you are. So it's really like there's something called the 30% rule where, and this is just so true across the board, 30% of the people out there are going to love you. They're going to be like, yes, you are my person. Like I click with you. I vibe with you. I want to hang out with you. 30% of the people are going to be totally neutral and different. They're like, yeah, they're cool, but I'm not like going to go out of my way to like, you're just not like captivating them because you're just not. And it has nothing to do with who you are, who you aren't. It just is what it is. And then the other 30%, they might not even like you. They might feel like, yeah, what is she doing? And you have to kind of learn to be okay with that. And I grew up being a people pleaser and an achiever and all these things. And it's like, now I'm in a place where I am so comfortable and confident being 100% me. And I'm okay that I'm not for everyone. I'm for a very specific niche of people. And when you align with who you are, truly from a soulful standpoint, and you're 100% authentic to who you are, whether it's luxury or not, but I even think in luxury, it's more needed now more than ever. You will draw on your tribe and they will be so loyal. They will be so loyal. So that has been my experience. Again, it's been transformational. It's been evolutionary. It's like you fail forward, you make mistakes, you try this, you try that. That's what part of being an entrepreneur is. It's this like Rubik's Cube that you have to figure out. And it constantly changes. But what I can say is that sales has really been about connection and adding more value than I charge, right? I always want to add more value. And from a brand perspective, being very authentic to who I am, you will call in loyal clients and you will align with your dream clients.
There are two things I want to go back to here. First of all, props to you for going through it and really, like you said, breaking through those barriers. But I want to talk about those barriers. I know you said that networking was your way because it was a male-dominated industry, that you kind of found your way through the cracks there and kind of, pushed the door ultimately open for yourself. But for some of these other younger entrepreneurs, I think that they're also experiencing barriers that they just feel like nobody else is dealing with, right? And that's far from the truth. Can you talk about some of the barriers you faced and how you effectively kind of worked through them?
So many. Where do I start? What do you want me to focus on? Figuring out social media, figuring out so many things, marketing, advertising, just as a general rule across the board is you cannot fail if you don't give up. That's like number one. You just don't give up. I mean, I had a shoestring budget. I was going through divorce. My daughter had health issues and I was like, I'm not going to fucking give up. And I didn't. I'm really big on manifesting through meditation and getting very clear on what I want the outcome to be, not just like financially, but how I want to feel and how I want to connect with people. It's very, very powerful because if you think about it, we are all energy. All we are is energy. Like we're cells and atoms in motion. And we all pick up on frequencies. So if you don't believe in yourself, and if you think something's not going to work out, you're emitting that energy and that frequency, and you will manifest that, guaranteed 100%. In terms of overcoming obstacles, probably the biggest was getting over my own imposter syndrome of who am I to do this? Who am I to do this? Like, okay, I've worked at these places. Like, I don't know how to run a business. Like, what if I don't know? I don't know. One of the things that was said to me at this retreat was, who has the authority to do this? Who are you to do this? And it was like, who are you not to do this? If your soul is calling you to do it, just because you don't know how it's going to happen doesn't mean you can't figure it out. In terms of overcoming the barriers of a male-dominated industry, I would say that at the end of the day, what I've realized, regardless of how different we look, how culturally different we are, religious, physical, like all these different things, again, at the end of the day, we are all souls. We are all little toddlers running around in adult bodies trying to achieve love. Truly, at the end of the day, love and safety and validation, right? We have these basic core needs. So if you can connect with people not on they're in this position and I'm in this position, if you can literally like wipe all that bullshit away, all the social constructs, and get down to the root of, they're just trying to pay for their kids' college. And yes, they've worked their way into this position, but I don't know their background. At the end of the day, they want to feel love. They want to feel validated. They want to feel like they're going places. And if you walk into anything that you want to achieve, let's say you're looking at someone, you're like, if I could just get to this person, then I'll really get to where I need to go. If you can switch it to, how can I help this person get to where they want to go? How can I add more value to this person and what they're trying to achieve? If you can flip it, instead of you're like, how can I help them? You will, I promise, get more back than you would ever gone when you go in for the take. And that's kind of the approach I use with a lot of these diamond dealers. It was like, well, how can I help them boost their sales? You always want to add more value and leave people better off than you found them. So if I was, trying to work with a diamond dealer, because it's hard to get in and just be like, hey, can I see this 10-carat stone? They're like, well, who the fuck are you? You know what I mean? And even though I worked at these places, like you need a proof of history with them. And then you need to do that with many, many other wholesalers. So it's like, well, I have this background, but maybe I can take pictures and videos of these diamonds and give them to you so you can help sell those to your other stores. Like, will that add value to you? Right? It's like, how can I help support you? It's not just how can I get my agenda achieved. It can never, ever be about that. What I would say when it comes to obstacles of figuring out, how do I hire the right PR person? How do I get in the press? How do I advertise on Google? What about SEO? All these things. And this has taken me years to figure out. You have to just try. You have to try And then if you make a mistake, you learn from that. And you will, by the way, you will make a mistake. That's called growth. Literally, if you're not making mistakes, you're not growing. So that's what you also have to learn, is not to be afraid of failure, not to be afraid to, it's like failing forward. I hired like 4 terrible marketing advertising people who promised me I could do this, this, and this. And then the 5th person, game changer for my business. It was like that in PR. I hired like 2 people who promised the world. I got nothing. And now I'm just surrounded by incredible people who are helping. No one is self-made. We're all supporting each other and lifting up. And what I would also say is there's a book called Who, Not How. My girlfriend is reading this, and it's like, no one can get to where they really want to go by themselves. It's the power of tapping into other people's superpowers, zone of geniuses, and networks, and you're all helping lift each other up. So I am constantly collaborating with people, and it's not just to achieve what I want, right? It's not just for my gain. It's like, how can I help connect you with this person so you can achieve? Like when I have calls with people, my first question is, how can I support your growth? How can I help you achieve your agenda? Because at the end of the day, that really is the most rewarding thing. And you will always get it back. There's a book I recommend that everyone reads. It's called The Go-Giver, and it's a game changer. And it will change your mindset on how to live your life in business, truly. And it's about adding way more value and the power of connecting people and connecting with people to honestly have a life of abundance, the life we all really want. And it doesn't just come from making a sale and getting the money. That's like a very superficial transaction exchange. And I used to be that way. And there's no judgment on that. Like that's kind of how we're built. That's how we're just trying to get our needs met. But there's a much higher level of business. And what I found is the people that are the most successful, the millionaires, the billionaires, they operate at this higher level. It's a whole different level.
That's the kind of thing I think that when you're a young entrepreneur, you're just like, is anybody relating to me? I talked to somebody else I know about this and just going back and forth and saying age doesn't determine your level of maturity. It doesn't determine, whether or not you're ready to do something in life. It's this understanding of when you feel it's the right time, right, to take that next step. And I think for a lot of people, they're kind of waiting, right? They're kind of saying, well, when is the right time here? For you, Michelle, was there a right time?
It was a combination of necessity and just determination. Like I'm a Capricorn. I guess I can be a little stubborn. If you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to do it twice over. Like I'm just an overachiever. So there's nothing truly, I have a mindset. I don't have a block here where I think I can achieve anything. I really do. Everyone has different mindset blocks, but, if you kind of have that belief, if you can trick yourself into having that belief, which you can do through hypnosis and meditation, because we all have blocks from our childhood. All of us, whether it's blocks in relationships, blocks in our ability to hit that next level of like the life we want to achieve. If you can break through to that, you can achieve anything, whether your budget, like I was working on a budget of like $1,000 a month, right? So it's like, well, how am I going to do this? And I knew my marriage wasn't going to work out, which was kind of the necessity. I was like, well, I'm going to be a single mom. I know that I cannot go back to retail hours because I have this young child that I want to be with. Like, how can I build something that will allow me to have a life of balance where I can be with her, that will fulfill me creatively, that will support me financially? And so it's kind of like, I was like, well, I just have to do it. I just have to go for it and see what happens. And I had a little bit of a runway to do that, but it's really true. Where there's a will, there's a way, And I think, the whole concept of waiting for the right time or waiting for things to be perfect, I can honestly say that is a huge mistake. Done is better than perfect. You have to get in motion. You will make mistakes. You will. I can't stress enough, like how good that is. Like, it's so funny when we were going to all of these private schools, interviewing these private schools for my daughter's education, the main message that they're teaching these grade schoolers is mistakes are freaking beautiful. Mistakes are exactly what you want. That's how you learn. That's how you grow. It's like, we're all expecting this, like the straight line of success. And it's like twists and turns and loops and this and that. And that's the beauty of the journey. Because if you think you're going to be happy once you get here and you get, let's say, like $1 million in a 5-bedroom house in the Palisades and this, if you think like, then I'll be happy. No, actually, it's not true. When you get there, then you want something else. You actually have to be happy and enjoy the journey. So, yeah, I mean, I can show you my social media 6 years ago. I can show you my pictures 6 years ago, my messaging. It was like, I look back and I'm like, that's so sweet. Like I was just learning, but I still got clients. And then with those clients, like you have to start somewhere. And there's a concept I've kind of come up with. It's like compound clienteling, right? It's like, yes, you may be starting with one contact, in my case, in the diamond industry, or one client, but it's turned into, in a very short period of time, in just a few years, you can grow massively if you put in the right energy, if you believe in yourself, and if you offer an incredibly valuable experience for your customers or your clients. It really is all about not the transaction and not even the product. How are you making them feel? I cannot stress that enough, actually. That is like, you hear the Maya Angelou quote, like, people will forget what you did. They'll forget what you said, but they will never, ever, ever forget how you made them feel. So if you aren't connecting with people on a personal level, whether you're selling them sunglasses, whether you're delivering mail, or you're selling a diamond ring, that connection is more important than anything, which is why you should infuse more of a care about whoever you're doing the transaction with, like care about them as a person and where they are in their life and what they're trying to achieve. And the sale will happen. The sale will be like a side note. I mean, truly.
Michelle, it's those kinds of connections now that, people are starting to make where they don't realize it's the little things, right? There's not just one day where everything comes together. I mean, you might see it slowly over time, and then you might one day realize like, whoa, this is how much I've accomplished in this span of time, and look at where I was. But the reality is it's all these little times. It's the time that you stayed up 2 hours, you sacrificed 3 hours of sleep, you got up early and stayed up late. You just put in the extra hours to make everything work. That really creates that sense of fulfillment for me, right?
Totally.
Doing this, and I'm sure for you as well. When it comes to things that you're facing now, as somebody who's successful as an entrepreneur, I feel like there are new goals that you have to continue to set, or there has to be that drive still to make you want to go after and perform at a high level. You've made it. I don't want to say, you know what I mean? Like now that you've kind of achieved this level of success, what are some of the things that continue to drive you and inspire you to keep going?
Thank you. That's really kind of you to say. And really, it's funny because as humans, the thing that actually drives happiness, truly, and they've studied this, is growth, is being challenged and growing. That's why you have lifelong learners. So the reason I bring that up is because in my business, and I will never stop growing and I will never stop learning. So the question I'm always asking is, how can I add more value to my client's experience? How can I make this better? How can I make this better? Like every day I'm just thinking, what if I added this? What if I, and I'm not even necessarily charging for it. And I don't really need to. It's like, how can you add more value and a more experiential process that doesn't even have to cost you anything, right? Like I even spray perfume on my boxes when I ship them. I want them to have a full sensory experience. Just the creative process of how can I expand this in other areas? So there are some things I'm working on that I cannot talk about. There are some things, partnerships that are happening that are exciting. I'm partnering with Bentley and Rolls-Royce this year. That'll be later this year. And if you stay aligned to not your financial goals, but to your end goal of what will actually truly make you happy, you will stay on the right path. And I say this, I would say like I learned this from not staying aligned in like a personal relationship. It was like I didn't trust my intuition, I didn't trust my instinct, and I kind of paid the price for that. And that's fine. The price was actually a great learning lesson. But in my business, I committed to always staying very intentional and aligned with what felt right and what I knew would make me happy long term. So I bring this up because what we define as success is different for everyone. And last year I was offered my own reality show. I was offered like a Miss Diamond Ring reality show, right? And I would say like 10 years ago, me would have jumped on that in a heartbeat, right? Who wouldn't take that opportunity? Think of the money, think of the fame. But actually, something in my gut was like, just didn't feel like the right direction for me. And one thing that I've placed a lot of value on and what is wealthy for me is balance, right? Like peace of mind, health, and to run a business and have this reality show going on at the same time would throw my life way out of balance and put me on a very different trajectory than I want to be on, especially as a single mom. And so passing on that might have seemed like, well, don't you want to be successful? Actually, I passed on that and Rolls-Royce reached out to me like 2 months later. And I just stayed aligned. I meditated. I was like, I would rather have a more calm and balanced life where I'm dealing with high level clientele. I've stayed intentional. I didn't know what was going to happen or where it was going to come from, but I just kept in the energy and in the flow of what I knew was right for me. And I never could have imagined that partnership would have come from out of the blue, approaching me for this, incredible thing. But it did. And it wasn't a once in a blue moon thing that just happened to Michelle and Miss Diamond Ring. That actually can happen to everyone. Again, because of the way the universe is connected, the way energy works. If you stay intentional, you stay aligned, and you believe in your outcome, magic will happen. And I'm serious. Like the stuff that's happened in my business, I attribute truly to meditation and hypnosis and being very clear on the vision that I have for my life.
Amazing. And Michelle, I want to go back to that. You talk about turning that down. And I want to say that when you talk about the change of trajectory, it's funny because that was exactly the reason you started this, right? Was to allow yourself to have more time to spend with your daughter. And ultimately, while that would have still been successful, in terms of, your business, and this would have been a great way for you to earn more money, like you said, it still took you away from that whole reason you started it. So I give you props for turning that down. Not because that's not a great opportunity and whatnot, but because you remembered kind of why you were into this. And I think that's really important for some of these entrepreneurs, are whatever stage you're at, kind of remember your why. Like remember what it is that's driving you, remember the outcome that you're looking for, like you talk about, and how that's going to kind of help you work through those tough moments and even the best moments to stay grounded and recenter your focus to concentrate on what you're working towards.
Oh, well, yeah, just to touch on that just briefly. It's very true. And what I've even experienced, so a lot of my clients are very successful entrepreneurs, millionaires buying $100,000 rings. So I'm exposed to other people that are doing, really interesting things in their space. And so I've recently talked to 2 founders of very successful growing companies, and they both had the opportunity to sell their business for tens of millions. And they were like, oh my God. And they didn't, because they were like, we still feel like there's room to grow. It's our baby. We want to hang on to it. And I was like, that is so cool. Like life is not about cashing out and getting a check and being like, I'm good. I'm going to go sit on the beach. Because guess what? 2 months later, you're going to be on the beach. You're going to be bored as fuck. That's how it works. You never want to stop growing, and you never want to stop staying true to your mission and purpose. And they felt like there was still room to grow the company. And, they didn't want to miss out on that the creative juices that you get when you're being challenged and when you're building something that is from your own soul's volition. So to answer your question, you guys can find me. If you're on Instagram, I'm at Miss Diamond Ring, MISS Diamond Ring. And you can also go to my website, missdiamondring.com. And I also have a Shopify website. If you want to honor yourself with a beautiful diamond ring, it's a collection I created called Diamonds with Soul. And these are intention diamonds for women to honor themselves and align with their vision for their lives. And it's like you buy a ring or a diamond pendant, and then you set an intention on it. And there's a meditation that goes with that. And you manifest, because it's a visual reminder. It builds a neural pathway in your brain. And every time you're looking at that diamond ring, right, like on your right hand, or whatever piece inspires you, it's building a neural pathway in your brain and a reminder of your intention for the abundance in your life, or whatever you want to call in. So that website is diamondswithsoul.com. So yeah, you guys can find me, reach out, say hey.
No, that's awesome. Michelle, thank you so much. What is something that you have found to be very successful for you that you learn now that you wish you would have known 7 years ago, that you think somebody starting off in whatever industry they're in, when you talk
Yeah.
about building connections and growing their brand, what is something that has helped you be successful that you wish you would have known then?
The first thing really is the connection, and really focusing on the personal connection with people over the business connection. When you have a conversation with someone and you want to get the sale or you want to get their business card, come at it from an altruistic standpoint of genuinely wanting to get to know them. And you always start the conversation personal and you end personal, because your first impression is what people remember. And actually the last kind of impression and takeaway that you have with someone is what lasts. And almost like everything else is like not as important as the last experience they had with you on the phone or in person. So you always want to sandwich your business with personal on both ends. It's like a personal business sandwich cookie. So that would be the first thing. And then the second is come at your business, your anything and everything from a standpoint of how can you help add as much value as possible to all of your connections and experiences with people, your interpersonal connections, with your clients, with anyone you're trying to get something from. How can you add more value, and how can you help them experience the emotion they want, right? If they're trying to lose 5 pounds, what do they really want? They want to be attractive to their partner, or they want to have their goal weight from high school. So they can feel this certain way. So you want to tap into the feeling more than anything. I promise you, it will make all the difference in the world.
I think people are going to take that and run with that, Michelle. For you, who was the mentor, or did you have somebody that you kind of looked up to that kind of helped create that blueprint for yourself? Or was there anybody, even if it wasn't in your industry, was there anybody who was having success somewhere else that you just said, okay, this is somebody I got to kind of read up on, learn from, and just study their habits so that I can be successful doing what I want to do?
Yeah. We all need expanders. We all need people to see like they did it and they did it and they did it, so I can do it. Same with relationships, right? Like these people have been married 50 years. These people have been like, that actually exists. Not everyone gets divorced. You have to have the belief and the social proof. So I would say Marie Forleo I took her B School course. And if you don't know about her, haven't heard of her, she's incredible. And she kind of changed the game in terms of online courses. She has something called B School, where you take this course and you learn how to run a business, right? So that was kind of the foundational piece for me. And I would say my dear friend, Rebecca Caffiero, who you should also follow, Rebecca Caffiero on Instagram. She and I have been friends for a long time. She and I sold real estate together, and she branched off and became an entrepreneur. And so did I. And she focused more on PR and branding. And it was kind of like, she was kind of shining the light on my path. Like she helped me believe in myself and have just the confidence to go for it. Sometimes you just need small group of people that you respect to tell you, you should go for it. This is going to kill it. You just kind of need that a little boost. I needed that. I remember I wasn't even sure if I was going to do this. I was like, what? I don't know. Like, this is going to take, this is different. It doesn't exist really. And I went to this retreat with women, brand camp. And, I was masterminding with a group of 20 women. And I had 20 minutes where I was telling them my idea and what I was thinking. And they were like, hell yeah, Michelle, we would love something like this. Like, how does this not already exist? Right. So that really gave me the confidence I needed to go for it. And then I definitely continually supported myself with like business coaches. Kristen Brabant, she was very, very helpful in helping my mindset and helping gate my offer and really only call in my dream client. So I'm constantly taking courses. Mind Valley is such a game changer in terms of your mindset, in terms of hypnosis and meditations, like really tapping into where you want to go in life as a soul, because we are all souls having a human experience, and we kind of forget that sometimes. So, and that's like really ultimately to achieve your greatest level of happiness. That's why we're here. So yeah, those are just a few. I could list on and on, but I would say Marie Forleo, Rebecca Caffiero, Kristen Brabant, and also in Mind Valley. And then I will say Joe Dispenza. If you haven't heard of Dr. Joe Dispenza, I've done his meditations for 5 years, and they are game changing. It's how I would say I manifested the New York Times write-up on me, which blew up my entire business in a good way. I just meditated like deep theta meditations of where I wanted to go and what I wanted to achieve. And I don't know what else to say except it happened. You know, I also worked hard. I also was up till 2, 3 a.m. for probably a good 2 years, like working. I'd put Charlotte down and then I'd work till 2 or 3 in the morning. But it didn't feel like work because I loved it. So anyway, very long-winded answer to some of my resources. Hopefully you guys find them helpful.
I think that when you first get started, it's really important, like you said, that you have that encouragement. Now, for a lot of people though, Michelle, I do want to say it doesn't necessarily come from the people that they respect or they love. I think it's those people that end up talking them out of it because they have this good job, because they have a 401k, because they have this comfortable environment where these other people who, you know, they don't want to see them fail, right? And it doesn't mean that they don't support them or they don't love them, but if they can't see themselves doing it, Michelle, it's going to be really, really tough for them to see, you know, somebody else. So for you, was there anybody that you didn't know or wasn't close to you that kind of said, you know what, Michelle, you're on the right path, keep working, you know, you can do this, that for you, that was kind of like, okay, that's really important because I know that this person doesn't owe me anything or they're not going to tell me what I want to hear. And that goes a long way.
Yeah. I mean, the business coach I hired, Kristen Brabant, the women at the mastermind, I didn't know them. I just met them. It was like a weekend retreat. We weren't all just kind of bullshitting each other and being like, you can do it, girl, you can do it with like a terrible idea. It's like, we were all being very honest and transparent with one another. So I think for anyone listening, if your parents, it's usually the parents that are like, get a steady job. They are operating on their social constructs of what will create happiness, but only you as a person know what will drive your own happiness. And that is the enlightenment and the evolution of your soul. I keep saying soul because that's really what we are, but that's like being challenged, growing. And it's okay for things to be a little bit, like there's no guarantees in life, right? I mean, you could have a steady job at a Fortune 500 company and they could lay you off, or all these Fortune 500 companies are kind of, I don't know, like there's a lot of industries that are collapsing right now because not only of the pandemic, but the changing way that people do business. People want more personal, people want to connect directly. And I think everyone has their own zone of genius that they can tap into. And there's a gift that everyone has to give the world. And I think if you can align in some entrepreneurship communities and connect and really get honest feedback, like give honest feedback, get honest feedback, get plugged in, then that will help you stay aligned on your, the life that you're meant to live, your destiny, not someone else's destiny that they're putting onto you that's really not your destiny.
What is the kind of impact you want to have on the world and your industry when it's all said and done?
My answer to that is so clear. It's love and light. Truly. Like I'm not even here to sell diamonds. I'm here to help people experience love at the highest level. That is my mission and purpose. And that's honestly the direction that I'm growing the business, is helping couples get tapped into love and partnership and sacred union at the highest level, even creating intention behind diamonds. But yeah, if I'm gone tomorrow, I hope people will say that I made them feel loved. I helped them connect to love in themselves, self-love, or love with a partner at the highest level. So that is why I'm here. And there's no doubt about it.
If you haven't checked out Michelle yet, you haven't heard about what she does, go visit her Instagram page. I will put her information below here. You can see in the description for this video. But guys, she mentioned so many good things. There's one thing I think that is really important above all else. And that's if you're suffering now, right? Suffering is a part of the process. If you're suffering, you haven't grown yet. You're either growing or suffering. And that's okay if you're suffering now. But realize that you're suffering for a reason. It's not happening to you, right? It's not that victim mentality. You're callousing over your mind to endure whatever it is that you're asking, for. And whether that's God or whatever you believe spiritually, as long as you stay focused, meditate, continue to revisit your goals, your whys, why you're working towards what you're doing. Ultimately, you'll always have that recentered focus of, okay, it's okay if things go south because I know it's part of the process. And when you understand that, you're able to take that next step, you're able to grow, learn, and you're able to create the difference that you hope to see. Michelle, thanks so much for joining us this week. I really appreciate your time, and it was a blast having you on the show.
Thanks, Ari. Appreciate it. Have a good one, everyone.